Welcome back. My name is Ivica Cartello. You are watching React School for Totally Beginners. Why totally beginners? Because I cannot learn because I don't know how many know middle or top level of today's React developer, for example. Because that level is in production, in company, and there is they have more and more experience, and they go up in them productivity. But totally beginners will learn first principles. Bottom, they go from bottom, and for me as teachers is the position where I can learn, when I can give that first principles, that bottom from which learners can go up self by himself. Okay, topic is why we must know HTML and CSS. We learn React. Why we must know HTML and CSS? Because HTML and CSS is part of coding, of totally coding React. React coding, there is two part of coding. One is HTML and CSS, and one is JavaScript. HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And React developer must know code, write script, code, develop React applications, writing HTML, CSS, JavaScript. In this video, a little button first principles in HTML and CSS. First step in web design is decide how many columns and which width, overall width, number of columns. Decided about grid. How many overall width, how many inside that, how many columns, and I decided overall width 800 pixels and of columns 6 of columns. And down we have options, possibilities, column width 130, 125, and gutter width. Gutter width is right margin, and I choose 125 pixels every column, width of column, and 10 pixels gutter width. Preview, it is like that. Okay, let's go to see coding, to see scripting. This is CSS of responsive web design. Overall width is 800 pixels. One column width is 125 pixels. You look at class grid 1, in comment 125 divided by 800 equal 15.625%. And that percent is width column 15.625%. Okay, let's go see grid 2. Grid 2 is there is property width 32.5%. How calculate it? 200, look at comment, 260 pixels divided by 800 pixels equal 32.5%. 260 pixels, what is it? It is 2 columns, 125 plus 125. It is 2 equal 250. Why is here 260? Because of gutter. Look at 1 column, 2 column. What is between? Between is 10. Gutter width. Because of that, 125 plus 125 plus 10. Class grid 3. Class grid 3 will be 1 column plus 2 column plus 3 column. We can say 125 times 3 plus 2 gutters plus 20. Let's go to see. Grid 3 is here. 395. It is 3 columns, 125 times 3. It is 375, 375, and the 2 columns plus 2 columns, 2 gutter and plus 2 gutter, 20 pixels. It is 395 pixels divided by 800 pixels equal 49.375%. And it is properties of grid 3. Class grid 3 in curly brackets width column 49.375%. Look at 4, grid 4. Grid 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4 columns and 3 gutter, pardon. 4 columns, 3 gutters. Grid 5 is 5 columns and 4 gutter. And grid 6 is 6 columns and 5 gutter. Okay, let's go to see that. And grid 4, grid 5, and grid 6 we look at here. Of course, 800 pixels divided by 800 pixels equal 100%. It is grid 6. Also, grid 1, grid 2, all grid 6, margin right equal 1.25%. What is it? It is gutter 10 pixels divided by 800 pixels. It is 1.25%. Margin right. A float left, display block, float left. It is all properties for all CSS for a grid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Last class margin right 0, because every div last in the row must have 0 right margin. That would be 800 that don't go over 800 overall width. Okay, and we now all after that is very simple. Body, we decided font family, font weight, font size, color, background color. Okay, image with 100%. It is gridulator is here. Last container with 90%. What this means? It means that never go until edge of the screen. That means max width 800 pixels when there is a place on the screen. But when there is no place on the screen for 800 pixels, that moment container go narrower, 90%. Narrower for 10%. Okay, padding top, margin. Margin auto means central position on the screen. Complete our 800 pixels, central position on the screen, or 90% if screen is smaller than 800 pixels. 90% will be on the center of the screen, and it means every side of empty would be 5%. Okay, age 1 font size, line height, font height, letter spacing, etc. Color. This is comment. When we experiment and you don't like clean, because for future experiment testing, you can make in you can close in comments that part of the scripting. Dot active class. Media screen is switch. Max width 705 pixels. Grid 1, 2, 3 would be 100%. Every grid would be 100%. It means mobile, for example, where grid 1 will not be 15.625%, or other grid 2, grid 3, grid 4, grid 5, grid 6 will not be this value, but would be 100%, and it means that every grid would be visible overall width of the screen, and order one by one from top to down, because you take it in account, figure about that, what kind of content you will give in first div, hierarchy of div, because it will be up one on other. For example, menu. Look at here. This site of what is web home to build menu is on the left side in grid 2 class, grid 2 class, and right side is 4, grid 4. Summing is grid 6. Always must be some grid 6. A grid 2 is left and menu is left. And when I look at on mobile, it will be menu first. And you look at down. But if I have position grid 4 left and menu right, I will have this web, what is web, up, or home, look at home, down, okay, would be first, and menu would be last, would be on the bottom, but there is usually user experience expand menu left till now, but more and more menu coming right. Designers design menu right because there is they want that first theme, first story come first on mobile, that we see first story first, that there is no dispersion on dispersion our mind to content, to menu, but directly focus on the first story. It means that we will see first this one, and content or menu down, and we see this one, and it is interesting, and personally I will choose that and other. It depends what we want. If we want thematic first, our story is very, very important, and we think that our story, top story, will catch, will take watcher, subscribers, followers to read that. That is okay. Okay. I tell you all about CSS and creating grid 1. Grid 800 I choose maybe 10 years ago, and I have in my archive. I take it for this, but you take grid numbers of columns, overall all width of the pages, take think about and take what you want, what depends about your content. Completed it CSS, my CSS, I copy here app.css, and we see that React for us create copy that make position of that CSS in head section of HTML documents final product. Okay, very simple. For responsive design, you need something more, not only grid and switch. You need in public index HTML. You need this meta tag. Meta name viewport. This meta name viewport, content with device with initial scale 1 means that on our mobile we see a row of web page, only part of a row of web page, which would be scale 1, would be default font of the mobile. It is about 16 pixels. It means that if our row, here it is, if our row this is row, if our row on the web page there is a 100 character space, he will have on web, he will have on mobile, for example, 50 characters or 20 character spaces. Your text article would be higher and narrower, but font will be 16 pixel and not 5 pixel what you can see. Without this viewport, this meta name viewport, if you delete it, you will have complete row from desktop screen, complete row, for example 100 character space, you will have on the mobile, and of course it would be very small font size, and you can read it. Because of that is initial scale. I call it like water. When you have this meta, it is like water in glass. If you have a wider glass and leave water, water would be thinner, smaller in height and bigger in width. But if you have a narrower pot and push same quantity of water, you will have higher water and narrower. It is like this with the text. Text is like water when we have this meta viewport. We have CSS. Now we can go to create our structure of HTML. Structure of HTML. Structure of HTML is in our mind and must go from our mind on the screen, on the paper at first and after that on the screen. app.js, app.js, we create construction, we create structure of div. Div class app here is only for calling CSS, and all other content is inside div class app. Div container is first construction, part of construction. Like div class app is okay. It is every div is construction, is structure of HTML. Div class container is here. Div class grid 4 is inside container. You look at, we have container 800 pixel, and inside that container we have class grid 4 for home, and right side grid 2, and of course last, because we don't need go over 800 pixels. Grid 4 and grid 2 together have 100% of 800 pixels. And it is technology business education. Why I give wider left side? Momentarily I have only home, but narrower right side. Momentarily have longer text. Technology business education. Because in some moment, in that moment, I think about home. We never write home. We write our name of our company, and it will be bigger text, bigger font, and maybe a logo, our logo, etc. Because of that, it is left side is grid 4, grid 4, and grid 2. It is construction for this part. It is construction for this 4, and here is right side. You see, we have gutter here, but we don't have gutter. We have 0 after this last div in row. And now we have for menu we have grid 2 and here we have grid 4. Switch element, it is React element, and inside switch we have a root element. Outside of div there is no structure here. What it means? There is no structure for them. We have only structure for the bottom of the pages. It is div class grid 6, and I have to do education, and it is end of document, end of app, end of document, div, first div. and this is outside of structure. What it means? It means that home page coming here in this part, behind of that, over that. In this part of pages would come home page and or blog post, depends about web address, and it means that HTML structure coming with the component homepage or component blog post, and we go to component homepage. It is okay because here we don't know all about homepage. It is only component, but we have no detail of the homepage component, and structure of a div must go in homepage component, because here is a homepage element, root, path. It is element, homepage here coming as element. We don't see structure and content that homepage. We must go to homepage to see content and structure, HTML structure of homepage, or to go blog post. We go homepage.js, function blog post menu. It is a component, but one page can be only one component which we can import and export, and it is function blog post menu left. It is also component. This is one function homepage, because only one can have export homepage, and this is function homepage. It is main component. It is component homepage, which can be, because of that, can be export and can be import in other component. But this component is not new, is not main. It is component also, but it is component for main component, and other also is component for a main component. And this component, React component, we create blog post menu, is here blog post element. It is not component, it is element, React element. You see, capital letters, name begin with capital letters. There is an argument blog post equal curly brackets blog post data, and self-closed. That React element, what we create, is self-closed. Here it is slash and great sign for great. This is, and here it is. This is grid 2. It means that would be menu, and grid 4 is blog post menu. It is not it is element, React element blog post menu, where blog post equal in curly brackets blog post data, also complete JSON database. Here we have only blog post equal blog post data. it is home page. We have not one post, but all posts from database. It is here. Here it is all post, 3 posts. You look at here is left menu and right is all post, not one post. And because of that element, here is menu left and here is menu blog post. Complete, we have complete posts from JSON database, JSON structure. Why I call it menu? It is also menu. It is because that home page we have a title heading. We have of every post and the image, but we have only 150 characters of some paragraph, chosen paragraph from that post, and all that is like information, like wider, like more descriptive menu. Here is only heading, what web, how to build, React left. It is menu left, but menu is also some kind of menu because we have information about what we have, and if we click, we have one post. It is one post. Okay, let's go to see. How we construct div, it is here. Grid 2 and grid 4. And the 2 component, here 1 component, 2 component, and that component became React element. React component became React element, and we have our main component. I can also function blog post every component write on separate page, and the export possibility of export, it means have more import have. In that case, I would have 2 import more. Import blog post menu and import blog post menu and import blog post menu left here. Okay. That component we have HTML structure, and you look at you can imagine that coming here, coming in app.js, like coming here. I have div class grid 2 and div class grid for last. It is home page, and the grid blog post, 1 post, same construction. We have this one for grid blog post menu. Here is the same like before, because he coming here blog post data, blog post menu, blog post menu, and it is grid 2, and this is yeah, I look at in this, there is no image and there is no 150 text. Okay, I look at, I thinking that there is an image. No, there is no image, only H3. And that blog post menu, not like before in home page. In home page, blog post menu left, there is only heading, but menu, there is heading, image, and post. And here in blog post JS, I have only post heading. It is possibility difference because function this component is separate on this page and separate on other page, on home page, and I can write what I want, what I need. Okay, here it is same constructions. Menu go left in grid 2 and div class grid 4 go right. It is very simple. It is construction of HTML here. This is fractal. We need here div or fractal. Difference is if we create here div instead of fractal, we will have div, and it is one node in structure of HTML more, and pages is slower. It is faster with when we have not div, and because of that here is fractal and closed fractal. Must be that parent and fractal has no node in HTML node in HTML structure. I think I said all about HTML structure, about responsive web, and it is here. It is very simple, and it is reason that it's very simple. It is a reason for my construction of that because I like to teach button for totally beginner, because I think in that beginning, in that bottom, there is basic knowledge. All after that is experience, is work, is make money and practice. Thank you for watching this video.